What's up, everybody, and welcome back to The Pile-On, an NFC North podcast. It's Tuesday, April 28th, and this is episode 4. I'm Barney Wood, your Bears correspondent. Joined with me, as always, are my NFC North counterparts. In Detroit, we have Big Z.
What is up, everybody? The Lions crushing in the draft. I'm sure we'll be talking about it here.
In Minnesota, we got Remy.
What's going on? Skull to the bowl. We started with 12. We ended with 15 draft picks. Let's go.
And in Green Bay, we got Kinger.
What's up, everybody? I'm here, and I'm ready to defend the pack tonight. I know I'm going to be at the bottom of the pile with all you boys. I'm ready to defend that draft.
What a week. I mean, this is the first time that we're getting together since the 2020 draft. And just like my sex life, it was highly anticipated and gone way too quick. Fellas, this was our first draft done virtually. What'd you guys think? I thought it was pretty cool. I don't think Goodell could have been a bigger dork if he tried, but I want to hear your thoughts. Big Z, let's hear it.
Well, I know you had a lot of fun with this draft, Barney. I know at least if anybody was following us on Instagram and saw your story, you were having a really good time, man. Even without your team having a pick in the first round. But the virtual draft, I thought the first half hour of the draft, like when we started, was super somber and struck a really weird tone. But after that, I thought they did a really good job. The communication, all the video, it was excellent. You know, there was barely any errors to be found. My favorite part, I think, was Goodell's basement, and I think by pick like 91, he was like slouching in the back of his chair. I appreciated the tiredness look on him right there. It was interesting seeing all these homes and stuff, though, of these people that you know for so long.
Yeah, he was getting a little comfortable there. Remy, what about you?
I think the draft went insanely smooth under the circumstances. It didn't seem like people were struggling to get picks in. The only thing they needed to work on was the banter. And I don't know if it was because of all the delays that was possibly made, but when the pick is in, we want to know the pick. We don't want 5 more minutes of the previous pick. I know it adds suspension, and we don't need it. It's suspenseful, but we don't need it. When the pick is in, the pick is in. Let's go. Or else that's just me being the anxious fan I am. Did anyone else notice that? How it just took forever?
Yeah, practice a little patience there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to hop in. I'm going to echo your comments, right? I think like the first 30 minutes of the draft, just kind of felt like they dragged on. That's how it seems to go every year. But overall, I think very successful, right? I think everybody enjoyed it, allowed everybody to kind of escape and focus on something for sports for the weekend. Back to Goodell. I think Goodell would be any of us after sitting in that room by himself, trying to entertain fans via, Skype, WebEx, whatever that is. Reading 60 picks, man, I'd be slouched and chilling too. If I were him, I just would have done the thing in sweatpants. But ultimately it was great. I enjoyed it, watched just about every second of it, and I think a lot of people would agree that it was overall very successful.
How good was Goodell?
Remy?
Yeah, he got booed, but it's like almost he embraces it. It was more of a funny thing now because he's through a monitor and not out in front of the people. So he's embracing it. He says, "Come on, is that all you got?" And I believe when the Vikings were on, we started doing the skull chant with them. So it seemed like he had a lot more fun than just coming out with everyone hates me in this room face. It was more of a gimmick this year, in my opinion.
I personally absolutely love just the turning up the volume and hearing the place deafeningly yelling boo at him, but that's just me. What do you got to add?
No, it was literally an ad with Bud Light Seltzer this year where it was hashtag boo the commission. The commissioner was part of the advertisement for it. So talk about a gimmick for sure, Remy.
But, let's get started here. We got a lot to uncover. We're going to do a couple different segments, but we're going to take it day by day and just kind of go around the horn here. We'll start off with Detroit. You guys were up first on the clock at pick number 3. You didn't get the trade back you wanted, but you got a solid cornerback, and I'll let you kind of take it from here, Zach.
All right, round 1, the Lions got it going. A lot of people thought the draft would start at pick 3, but a lot of people were mocking Okudah, including me, to the Lions, and they went with him, man. Jeffrey Okudah, the cornerback out of Ohio State. This guy's going to be a future Hall of Famer, I'm pretty convinced, gentlemen. I'm just going to read off some of the stats from him from college. If people I have never seen a cornerback with these kind of statistics, all right? So, in his career, he was thrown at 106 times, only allowed 45 of those to be caught. And in those passes, only the passer rating of the quarterbacks is 52.9. He never allowed more than 50 yards receiving in any of the 27 games he played in college. And even more impressive is he never had a pass interference call against him in college. I don't know what better stat you're going to find from a cornerback. This is the first cornerback taken since 1997, third or higher overall. I mean, this guy's resume is screaming like all pro. It would take a lot, like a freak injury or something of that nature, to really off-road him. This is a safe pick for the Lions, but it's also the right pick. The only criticism the Lions got with this pick was that they didn't get to trade back to 5 or 6 like I did in our mock draft. But by all reports, there was never a firm offer from the Dolphins or the Chargers to trade up for Tua or Justin Herbert, either or, whichever one they preferred. So the Lions made the right pick here. Some people thought maybe Derek Brown D-tackle because of their D-line, but Okudah, baby, Hall of Famer. I cannot wait to see this guy suit up for the Lions, opposite Desmond Trufant going forward. I'm super pumped about the pick. I think it was the right pick.
Yeah, that was definitely a great pick there. Like you said, one of the best prospects coming out of the draft in a long time at that cornerback position. Remy, what do you got for your next two? Or actually, let's go with your both your picks.
Yeah, we're
here.
talking round one, baby. We gotta include both round ones here. Let me just start off. I know I stated it earlier. We started the draft with 12 picks. We ended with 15. Slick Rick, wheeling and dealing, baby. That's all he does. But no, day one, guys, obviously we came in needing a wide receiver for Diggs' replacement, and we needed, as I stressed in previous podcast, corners. So we came in with the 22nd pick. We got Justin Jefferson out of LSU. I love this pick. I did not think we would grab him. It was talks that we were going to pick Rieger, but Philly picked him right before us. Rieger was our guy, but then we couldn't believe Jefferson was still there. So we grabbed Jefferson, and just last year, 1,500 plus yards, 18 touchdowns. 4 of those came in the first half against that Oklahoma game in the first half in the playoffs or some bowl game. And so I was pretty happy. You know, he's going to come in. He's about 6'2", I believe. He played a lot of slot, which will make him a mismatch. And he can also play outside with the addition with Tajay Sharp in the offseason. You know, I thought he was a smaller guy. I looked him up. He's 6'2". So we got a big group of receivers coming in, which should throw some mismatches in a lot of defense. But we had the 25th pick, and we traded back with San Francisco, and we got the 31 pick, and we still got our guy, Jeff Gladney out of TCU, 5'10", and this guy is physical. One thing Mike Zimmer loves is this physical cornerbacks. This dude is straight nasty. I looked up, and they did give him a comparison to Marshawn Lattimore. He does maybe have a little off-the-field character concerns, but so did Marcus Peters back when he was drafted. Zimmer's very good about fixing the culture in Minnesota, and I think we got a absolute workhorse in Jeff Gladney.
Yeah, I mean, having 2 picks there, being able to trade back and still getting 2 positions in need and just very highly touted prospects. You know, I can feel your enthusiasm here, but I was watching that thinking, without a pick on the first round, damn, these Vikings are doing it right. But let's kick it off to Kinger here. I know you had a surprising trade up. Why don't you take us through your thoughts?
I think the thing that I want to stress to you guys is this was not a draft where the Packers really did do anything that's going to help them in the immediate future, right? They have taken the approach where they have a long-term goal and they have a system in mind, and they're going to let Matt LaFleur run the show. And everybody anticipated coming in that they were going to make a big play on offense. I talked about it on the podcast that, I wanted them to do something to give Aaron Rodgers a weapon. And then they come out and they trade with Miami for the 26th pick. They give up the 30 and they give up a 4th rounder and they draft Jordan Love. I was shocked, right? And my initial reaction was not a positive one. I mean, I had my head in my hands. And then, after processing, taking some time to evaluate everything, I don't hate the move, to be honest. Aaron Rodgers is signed in Green Bay through 2023. He's still an elite quarterback. He's still going to be the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers for the foreseeable future. But Green Bay graded Jordan Love very high, and they anticipated him going in the teens. And when he dropped into the 20s, Brian Gutekunst started to evaluate if he could trade up, and rumors were he was going to trade up into the early 20s to try and snag a Jalen Reagor or a Justin Jefferson. And when that fell through, and saw that Love was the best available player, they made the move. And Jordan Love's a guy that's going to come in. He's not going to impact the game immediately. He's got a lot of flaws to his game, ton of interceptions, but he has the physical traits to be a solid starter in the NFL. And rocket arm, mobile, big quarterback, makes the throws that they need. And so for Green Bay to take the first-round chance, do I love it? No, but I don't hate it, and I've learned to accept it, and I think it's going to be hopefully a very good long-term decision.
Now, Kinger, you mentioned that you were trying to, or Gutekunst was thinking about trading up to the teens. I saw that they contacted Minnesota and tried taking one of their picks, and so now I'm thinking, once they took Jefferson, is that why they backed off that, or?
Yeah, my understanding of it and what I've seen is they had their eye on Jefferson, and I do believe Reagor as well. On his conference call after the draft, he said there were names on the board that the Packers wanted at wide receiver, and when those names fell, he didn't feel that there was anybody out there at the time that was going to immediately impact the roster. They saw the talent in Jordan Love, they loved the prospect, and that was the decision that they wanted to go with.
Sources out of Minnesota say we got the call from Green Bay and denied. You guys called about our 22. Mm-hmm. But Biggs,
I'm sure you guys got the guy that we wanted.
I know you've been wanting to chime in for a hot minute. Let's.
All right, no, I want to respond to Remy for you're just talking about your physical cornerback. I think he's gonna have a rude awakening when he faces Kenny Galladay, the most physical receiver in the NFC
hang on,
North.
back that up. What did you just say?
I said Kenny Galladay's the most physical receiver in the NFC North. That's my opinion. And he's gonna get a rude awakening. But then I can't wait for Okudah to be shutting down Jefferson for years to come
who's
as well.
Cover
I think
Mr.
that's gonna be really fun to watch. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of that. I like this rookie
future rookie
matchup for now.
That'll be fun to watch. Fun to watch.
Exactly. But Kinger, the biggest storyline easily from this draft is that Jordan Love pick. And I love it because it shows no confidence in Aaron Rodgers going forward. I think that's a really exciting aspect of it. I like that you're trying to rationalize it now. It's also really it's good to see. I'm on this podcast where you're the lone representative of the Packers. It's good to see that you're trying to support them. It's because I just don't understand the pick. I know they're trying to plan for the future and stuff like that, but man,
so what do you mean when they don't?
Bad.
What do you mean they don't have confidence in rosters? Elaborate on that. Or they don't have confidence in Rodgers. Elaborate on that, please.
I mean, did you see the report? I think Peter King is the one that said it, that this pick was possibly because Matt LaFleur is tired of Aaron Rodgers' shit, kind of like taking over control of the offense at certain points. Like a lot, kind of a little bit of what Mike McCarthy had issues with, not listening to coach completely. And this Jordan Love pick is kind of hopefully lighting a fire in his ass and getting more in tune with Matt LaFleur's system than before. I don't know if he has something to say to that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that them drafting a quarterback right now deters anything from Aaron Rodgers in the future. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the exact example of a quarterback that's drafted and then sits for 3 years and then becomes elite, right? And, people can argue this all that they want, but most people would agree that that was good for Aaron Rodgers to sit behind Favre for a few years. And some of these Packers guys that have been around and reported on the team for a long time, they say when Aaron came into the league, he was, almost unwatchable at times with some of the throws he was making. He always had the talent, but just wasn't ready. And so when realistically, everybody knows you probably have Aaron talking about he wanted to play till 40, but realistically, everybody knows we probably have 2, 3, 4 elite years of Aaron Rodgers left, right? Then he becomes more of just a suitable quarterback, right? He's not going to be able to have the arm strength. He's not going to be able to make the throws that he did. So why not try and draft and develop a guy, maximize Aaron Rodgers' next 2 years, and then try and have somebody long-term? Again, the Packers have been great at having quarterbacks for the last 2 decades. Why not try and take a flyer on a guy that you really like to keep that going?
All right. Let's cool the jets here. I see some emotions getting a little high here. I do want to ask you one question, though, Kinger. What's done is done. But do you think you guys were picking at 30 originally?
Yes.
Do you think he would have fell to 30? I mean, you only gave up a 4th round pick and you guys had plenty of picks. So, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but I kind of felt like he was going to fall anyway.
Yeah. And that's the big question, right? I mean, I don't think the teams in front of us, I think we had Seattle, Baltimore, Tennessee, and somebody. Those 3 I know were in there. I forget who the 4th team was in between us. Those teams weren't the ones that they were worried about drafting a quarterback. The target was, and the rumor was, that the Colts were at the 34 were going to trade up into the first round because they had a high 2nd round pick. And so they were worried about the Colts jumping in front of them at 30, so he made the move to ensure that didn't happen.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And coming back a couple of years back to 2017, I know all about a guy that could have fell to them, to the Bears, but we needed to make sure that we were going to get our QB. And, let's just all hope that was the same mistake that Green Bay pulled there. So, but let's now, I don't want to, kind of foretell here, but I kind of feel like most of you guys are going to say that the Love pick was the worst pick. Zach, what do you think? First round, what was the worst pick?
Oh, I think Jordan Love. Yeah, I would completely agree with that. I don't think it addressed an immediate need for them. I don't even know if he's going to be a good quarterback, to be honest with you. I think he was a little overrated by some of these guys who are putting him in the top 15 of the draft. Just wild all over the place. A lot of people think that he's going to be better after 2 years sitting under Aaron Rodgers, get to hone his craft in practice, but I don't think he's a great decision maker, to be quite honest with you. The good year he had in college, it was more a product of scheme, I think. Talented arm, not super accurate, so I don't even like the pick, even if it was higher than 30, and they needed a quarterback, to be honest with you. I wasn't high on him to begin with.
Remy, do you have anything other than that to say?
By default, it's Love because the Bears don't have a pick, and Okudah is a stud corner out of Ohio State. And while there could be potential for Love, which there is, you don't take him there. They need a receiver. Go surround yourself with a weapon before you throw Love into just mediocrity. And honestly, Devontae Adams and then some fill-in guys. If you guys would have chosen a great receiver at that pick, Love would still be there in the second. But I don't hate the pick, but I just think it was the thought of.
I just think personally that and Zach, Kinger, you talked about this. You have about 3, maybe 4 more elite years out of Aaron Rodgers. At what point? This is the probably the deepest wide receiver draft. At what point do you just what point does Aaron Rodgers just kind of give the bird to the front office?
You asked that question. Go ahead, Big Z.
I was going to say, after he's done getting paid his $40 million a year or whatever he's getting paid right now.
See, and that's where I think something's up for debate. I mean, okay, obviously you can talk about, this is the new stat going around, that Aaron Rodgers only thrown to one first rounder, right? I mean, that's the big thing. But, I mean, I think that discredits a bunch of great receivers that have played in Green Bay over the year. I mean, we have Devontae Adams, a second pick right now. I mean, Jordy Nelson for years, Randall Cobb, I mean, Donald Driver, Greg Jennings. None of those guys were first-round picks, but all those were very, very good NFL receivers. And the narrative that this year's wide receiver class, okay, yes, it is great. Everybody consensus agrees. It's very, very solid top to bottom. But next year's is damn good as well, man. And there's no guarantee that this year's is actually going to be better than next year's, right? I mean, you look at some of the top-heavy names next year. I mean, Jamar Chase, Justin Ross, Jalen Waddle, Rondale Moore, Devontae Smith. I mean, these are our elite talent, elite NFL prospects. And so for them to take a flyer on a guy that they didn't love, they've had their draft board, all their guys that they wanted taken. I mean, look, I'm okay with the move long term. Well, you know, we still have good receivers, and we'll see how next year goes with the class. Another year, another opportunity.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you. Next year does look good. The front office might dabble and get their new guy Jordan Love a wide receiver to play with. But Remy, you wanted to say something,
and then if we can move on. But you know, there is rumors swirling out there that experts all over the country, you know, agree that the Broncos had an amazing draft. I'm not sure if you guys saw this or not, but the team is now stacked with a young, great talent, and they have a quarterback situation. So let's just throw it out there, just like what Peyton did. Let's not rule out the fact that Rodgers could end up ending his career in a Broncos uniform. Hot take.
I didn't see that one coming.
And I think you're right. I think we will end it there.
I just want.
I don't want.
Let's not get me
really
going.
quick.
Let's not get me going. Yeah.
I just want to say I'm glad Kinger's already planning for next year. And just giving up on this
if they
season. It's
love
nice to
love,
hear. That's all.
Sorry, Aaron.
All right, we're gonna move on to the second round, and I got to listen to you guys all talk, so now it's my turn. Starting off the draft, our biggest need was the offensive line, and then our secondary and tight end. There was no secret about those three being our top needs. I thought for better or worse, the first round, the way it fell, as far as skilled positions went, it couldn't have fell better for the Bears. I wanted them to trade back at one of these picks and get additional guys, but they obviously felt like the interior linemen, weren't worthy of a second or a third round pick. And obviously the way the rest of the draft went, there was really no interior lineman that went there. So the guys in our room, Ryan Pace, they decided to stick with their picks. And we got two positions in need. I know we're catching a little flack with the first one, and that was Cole Kmet, 6'6" tight end out of Notre Dame. He's 262 pounds. This guy's massive. He's a typical Y tight end with plenty of athleticism. He can play in the slot. He had 183 snaps this year there. The stats, though, they're not going to jump off the board. But I mean, that's due to he missed 4 games. I mean, it's a third of the season there. And the reason why he missed those games was because he was rehabbing a elbow injury that he sustained when he was pitching for the Irish. I mean, this guy is an absolute freak in terms of athleticism. The White Sox wanted to draft him, but he told them very early on that he was going to go pro in the NFL. In 2019, this is what his stats were. They're nothing crazy. He had 43 receptions out of 61 targets. He had 515 yards and 6 touchdowns. But what does stand out is, and I'm a big Notre Dame fan, so I watched this guy the whole season, and he's just a natural with his body. He boxes out defenders and has a massive catch radius. The Bears are catching so much flack because, the national story is we already had 10 tight ends on our roster, which I just think is the most lazy writing you could have ever done. Like, you guys are all here saying, Jimmy Graham is no good. And I totally agree to the point where he is definitely almost out the door. But he's not even close to being an argument as our best tight end. So I don't understand why the hell this is an issue that we grabbed a tight end here, and not only a tight end, but the consensus number one tight end in the draft. So for me, I totally thought this was a great pick. It wasn't the one I was hoping for before the draft started, but you don't grab an offensive tackle with the first pick, or with that pick, because that would have been the seventh offensive tackle off the board. Instead, we went with the number one tight end, and I'm really happy that we went with that, because since we traded Greg Olsen, we haven't had a decent tight end in Chicago in quite some time. And I think this guy, I think he's just going to do just fine. He's not going to do, a crazy amount, but he's going to be able to be a dependable guy to move the chains. But I just wanted to get that out there, because I know I'm going to catch some flack here later in this segment here. But I'll move on quickly with Jalen Johnson, 6 foot, 200-pound Utah cornerback. This guy, I'm going to say it for both guys. I think both guys were first-round talents, and that's why I'm happy with the fact that we didn't trade back at all. We only had 2 picks inside the top 160, so we had to get impact players. This guy right here, he's a stud. He built a reputation of being a physical press corner and considered one of the best players to ever play at Utah. Out of almost 1,300 snaps, he allowed 3 touchdowns. And in a division that we're in, I have a lot of respect for your guys' offenses and your guys' wide receivers. You got Devontae Adams, you got Thielen, you got Galladay. When you have a stud corner in Fuller who doesn't mirror and follow the number one receiver, it's pretty easy for offensive coordinators to, game plan and just put their guy on the opposite side. So when it comes to, why didn't we choose a safety? I think it's way more important to have a dependable guy in the manning down that second corner position, because that's the guy that's going to get picked on for us. But some of these stats here, I didn't realize it, but we all put Jalen Johnson in our top 5 for cornerbacks. Big Z, you only had him third underneath Henderson and Okuda, so you obviously had some good praise for him. But, in 2019, his coverage snaps, 65 targets, 29 catches, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 6 pass defense. And actually a crazy stat here. I know you were gloating about Okuda, and I totally think Okuda is the best cornerback in this draft by far.
Damn straight.
Just pretty cool stat here is that for passes that were 10 plus yards or more, he had 31. Only 4 of them were caught, and at that percentage, it was the best in the whole college football. Okuda actually ranked 4th. Gladney ranked 2nd, and I think Lamar Jackson, not the stud quarterback, but the one from Nebraska was the other guy. But I'm gonna shut up now here. But I totally thought that was a great pick when that came around, and I think we have 2 guys that are gonna start and contribute for a lot of years. But I'm gonna kick it off to the guy who had the first pick in the second round, and that is Big Z.
All right, yeah, but Kinger, I think you want to throw something in there real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give the Bears compliments. Actually, I do like both of these draft selections. Personally, I think they maybe could have been swapped, right? Maybe you grab Johnson ahead of Kmet. That's my personal opinion. I think Johnson, physical corner like that, maybe would have been. I guess I would have thought maybe a little higher on the Bears board than the tight end, but. I'm seeing, the last time the Bears drafted a guy in the tight end in the second round, I think it worked out real well for him. Back in 2017, big athletic prospect, that everybody was hyped about, was the next big thing in Chicago. I think you guys might remember the name Adam Shaheen. So hopefully Cole Kmet, I know we're talking a little different. We're talking Notre Dame tight end here, but hopefully there's no similarities to that pick back in the day, because I remember when that was the big thing in Chicago also.
I don't know what you've been smoking during this quarantine. A guy who came out of Ashland, not even a Division I prospect. No person knew, no Bears fan knew who this guy was. So I get what you're saying. You're still a little hot right now from the first segment beating, But, I don't think anybody really had a lot of expectations for Adam Shaheen. But I do appreciate that you think Cole Kmet was a good choice. Big Z, let's hear what you think.
All right. So this is where the Lions really got just phenomenal value, I thought, on this second day right here. This is where, Okuda, the right pick, the smart pick, the most logical pick. This is where the Lions just took over. I think the draft. I don't know if I don't think they won. I think the Ravens won it personally. But besides that, the Lions definitely had one of the better drafts, and this is why. So they walk away with the top cornerback in the entire draft in the first round. And then they walk away with the best running back with the third pick here in the second round. DeAndre Swift, my God. If you haven't had a chance, listeners, to go watch this guy's highlight tape, please do. Out of all the Georgia running backs, this guy finished his career with the highest yards per carry. And that includes Herschel Walker, Todd Gurley, any of these guys, Sony Michel, Nick Chubb, you name it. Just a stellar guy. Only had 3 drops in his 3-year career at Georgia out of 90 possible receptions. He had 90 receptions, only 3 drops. I think those are incredible numbers as well. And that's my favorite thing about this guy. Theo Riddick, big receiving running back for the Lions for years. A lot of injuries, though. They had to get rid of him. And Stafford has been looking for that 2-minute drill guy, a running back to dump it off that can match up against the linebackers. This is that guy. And also a compliment to Kerryon Johnson, who continuously gets hurt year after year. I am so pumped that the Chiefs did not pick him. I had Jonathan Taylor mocked. That was wrong. After watching DeAndre Swift a little more, after his pick and really evaluating the pick, I thought it was phenomenal. A lot of people had him as the number 1 running back on the board. So Lions walk away with 2 of the top prospects at 2 key positions. And then in the third round, get Julian Okwara. Barney, can you speak about Julian Okwara? You're the Notre Dame watcher here more than anybody else. I just want to get your thoughts about Julian Okwara really quick, Barney.
Yeah, man. I thought this was a solid pick here, too. I thought he might have been a little bit, piped up a little bit in the days leading up to the draft. I think where you guys got him was great value, but it said he was going to go a little bit sooner. Dude, this guy's a really athletic, rangy guy. He got a little banged up last year, so he didn't have the stats that come off the board. But this good dude can do it all. He can jump back into coverage. He can rush the edge. You're gonna like Okwara, but you already have a little taste of Okwara because you got Romeo, right?
Exactly. That's a really cool storyline here. Is Julian Okwara joins his brother on the Detroit Lions? That's a really cool storyline. You don't get to hear that too often, let alone in the same position group. That really doesn't happen too often. But I mean, a lot of great value there. A lot of people had a second round grade on this guy. I think he fell a little bit because he did break his leg last year in college. But man, the Lions desperately need pass rush help, and this guy can possibly be the answer for us. And then also in the late third round, the Lions traded up for Jonah Jackson, offensive lineman out of Ohio State. I thought that was an excellent pick as well. This guy has all the makeup to be our starting right guard. That right now is probably filled by a veteran at the moment. So to get this guy, a lot of scouts gave him a high grade. He was in Senior Bowl week with the Lions as well, so I think that's where they fell in love with him, got a really close-up look at him. And that's why they fell in love to trade up with them. So right now, up to this point, I'm giving the Lions an A. I don't know if that'll be my final grade. Stay tuned to the podcast. But so far, love the draft.
All right. I believe next was Remy in Minnesota. Why don't you talk about your day 2 picks?
Yeah, so there were a lot of talks going into the draft, weeks before the draft, of a possible trade with Trent Williams. And that all ended when we drafted Ezra Cleveland out of Boise State. This dude is a beast. He's very athletic, and as is our right tackle, Brian O'Neill, also very athletic. So I thought it was a very good need to address because he's blocking Kirk's blind side, and we definitely had to beef up our offensive line.
Rebby, why do you think Ezra fell that far. I mean, a lot of people had him pegged as like the next tackle for a long time.
Right.
He kept falling to you guys. I just don't understand why he was falling.
I think he may have been a little lower on people's draft boards, but like Barney says, if you got that GMI, you got that GMI, and your guy. So I think they were ecstatic that they fell to him at that 58.
What other day 2 prospects did you like here?
Then the Vikings at pick 89, I really love this pick. Cameron Dantzler, corner, Mississippi State. Again, physical guys. Zimmer is just going to mold these guys into very self-disciplined corners, and we needed help on our secondary more than ever.
Yeah, I actually think you guys got great value out of this pick too. He kind of has, to me, he has a little bit of Marcus Peters in him. He's a bigger guy here, but he's very aggressive. He's like boom or bust with some of these plays. He's the first person that's going to jump on a shallow hitch and take it to a pick 6, but he's also going to be the first guy to get burned on a double move. But after obviously he gets some years under his belt and he's playing in a good defense here in Minnesota. I could see him definitely settling in and being a playmaker for you guys.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it pans out.
Absolutely. And Kinger, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, Packers again came in here and I think made a pretty surprising pick here with A.J. Dillon here in the second round. I don't think that running back was top of the list, again, of needs for Green Bay, but they've been sticking to their draft the best player strategy, and they thought A.J. Dillon was going to be a great complement to Aaron Jones here in the future. Obviously, a big bruising back out of Boston College. Extremely successful career out there. Originally committed to Michigan, and then decommitted to go to Boston College to stay closer to home, along with a couple other reasons. But 4.53 speed. They're saying NFL comparison to be Leonard Fournette. Like I said, 250 pounds. Honestly, just a load. Arm tackles. That's something that shouldn't hopefully affect him in the NFL. So to complement Aaron Jones, they hadn't had the successor. They hadn't had everything they'd wanted out of Jamal Williams, although a very suitable secondary back. They thought A.J. Dillon would be the move here. Quick little stat for everyone out here. In the past 20 years, of all of the Power 5 running backs in college football, there are 5 that A.J. Dillon is actually 5th in rushing yards per game. Jonathan Taylor over the last 20 years is actually number 1. Obviously he gets drafted by the Colts. Then LaMichael James, Adrian Peterson, Ray Rice, A.J. Dillon 5th with 125 yards a game. So I do like him. I think he's another weapon on offense. Is it the biggest Packers need? No, but very happy with that pick, and I'm happy to see him be a nice, hopefully good cold weather backup in Green Bay.
All right. Well, let's kind of go with this another lightning round here. Big Z, why don't you lead us off?
I got to ask Kinger again about these day 2 picks for the Green Bay too, man. This draft is just it so confuses me what the Packers strategy is. A.J. Dillon, a lot of people thought maybe like a 3rd or 4th round prospect. The Packers pick him up. Do you think? I could see Eddie Lacy 2.0 right here with this guy. Maybe.
Come on, Big Z. Come on.
I'm just thinking the last heavyset running back they got. That's all. And then the tight end pick I thought was terrible. This guy's like a mediocre, like a 5th or 6th round tail. I just think the Packers really reached on some of these picks that I didn't understand. I just
all right. Well, before you start coming after our 3rd rounder, why don't you let me at least defend the 2nd rounder? Right? Again, everybody's saying the big question around A.J. Dillon is mileage. He took a lot of snaps, over 900 carries at Boston College. But again, there's very few systems in the NFL that they're saying his running style would fit well in. Green Bay, who's trying to adapt a more San Francisco Kyle Shanahan style offense, they're saying he's the perfect fit. You guys are going to be upset when he's barreling over all your defenders in Lambeau in 10-degree weather in December and nobody can tackle him. You'll see why it was a solid pick for Green Bay right there.
Do you think they're like LaFleur's trying to make him their Derrick Henry because he's coming from that Tennessee system?
I mean, it's going to be. I mean, they see him as a similar back, obviously similar power back. He's known for breaking tackles. Green Bay's going to run the ball. It's a new style of offense in Green Bay, and they think he fits the system well.
All right, yeah, I just had to respond because I mean, all these people that do their grades post draft, these people that watch film all year, ready for the draft, continuously giving these first 3 picks of the Packers just brutal grades, and it's like a universal consensus. So, but yeah, but go, Barney. I just had to throw that in there.
And as much as I love to see the Packers just getting, berated, I don't hate this pick as much as maybe you guys do. I always thought this guy was a beast out of BC. I do think it's an interesting pick, just what they have now. I mean, Kinger, I got to ask you. Aaron Jones is a completely different back, and that, like you said, it's going to be a nice compliment. Is the writing on the wall for Jamal just for when his contract comes up? You got to think he's pretty good, so he'll probably get a couple offers that are pretty nice. But I think he's the bruiser, right? Kinda, right? But you got to think Dylan's coming in to basically take him over.
I think your evaluation's exactly right there, Barney. And I'm a big Jamal Williams fan. I think he does a lot of things. Great pass blocker, good hands out of the backfield. He had a streak of like 4 or 5 games in a row where he caught touchdowns last year. Overall solid back, but as a runner has not lived up to the hype. They see A.J. Dillon being as that complementary back. And additionally, they want to run more of these 2-back sets. They want to line Aaron Jones up out wide. They want to do more things with him to get him the ball. He's more dynamic in space. So, yeah, we'll see what it is. Like I said, it's a new era in Green Bay, and I can't judge it too early. I'm pretty excited to see, honestly, how it goes.
Right on. Big Z, I don't know if you got everything out that you wanted to.
I got it out.
All right, Remy, I'm going to take it to you then.
Aaron Rodgers needs weapons. There were so many receivers still on the board. Take one, please. For the love of extending Aaron Rodgers' career, take a receiver. It'll not only help Rodgers, but it will also help Love. I don't know. I agree. You guys need that second back because, let's face it, every NFL team is a 2-back system. But at that spot, I mean, I think you needed a receiver more. That's just my opinion. I'm glad you took the pick because now our rush defense can prepare for that. But we have problems with Jones as it is. So.
And Kinger, I'll let you if you have anything else to say out of that, I'll let you carry into who you think is the worst pick.
Well, again, I think everybody is continuing to have the consensus. Everybody out there thinks the Packers, made questionable decisions in the first or in the first couple of rounds. And at the end of the day, they can have the opinions. Only time will tell. If you are going to take I guess my opinion on the worst pick in the second round, I'm gonna roll with Swift, man, and I do think the Lions taking Swift at 35. I had Jonathan Taylor as the number 1 back. I do think DeAndre Swift is going to be a good NFL running back, but I don't know that he's going to be elite. And the Lions have a lot of holes to fill. And taking that running back spot, if they had it as their best player, hey, go for it. But in regards to my evaluation, Swift, the jury's still out for me, and that's just my opinion on it.
Big Z, you got a rebuttal?
I mean, I already went over Swift. I went over his production as a receiver and a runner in college. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, good guy. It wasn't going to fit the system that the Lions were looking for, and he went to the perfect team in the Colts.
Right,
but the Lions already have their Jonathan Taylor type back in Kerryon Johnson. They don't need 2 of them out there. So DeAndre Swift, I think, fits what they really need. They didn't have that receiving running back last year. I think they thought they had it in Ty Johnson. He turned out to be trash, their 6th-round pick from last year. DeAndre Swift, I mean, just supremely athletic. And Kinger, if you're going to make fun of DeAndre Swift, I'll tell his dad, and I don't know if he's still DeAndre Swift's dad. That guy is jacked out of his mind. He'll come to your house at night.
I miss that.
Oh, the guy's huge. He runs a gym in Philadelphia. His dad, and he's like 250 or 60 pounds. He's got muscles like bigger than my legs. Ridiculous.
I'll
He
take
looks
your
like
word.
Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah, okay, I'll take your word for it that I don't know that that's somebody maybe that I'm looking to encounter then.
But I think that wraps up the second round here, or the day 2 round. And I know there's a lot of guys, at least if you haven't felt this way yet, I always feel like this when the Bears are picking, but I'm always looking at the screen like, who the hell is, like whenever these guys come up in day 3. So, I want to see what you guys thought of your day 3 selections, but maybe just pick one guy that you think has some potential that you like. Big Z, I want to start off with you. Anyone from the Lions that in the later rounds that you thought this could turn into something?
Yeah, I thought the worst pick of the draft for the Lions was Logan Stenberg, offensive lineman, 24 penalties in college. So I just want to throw that out there really quick and why I might give a lower grade at the end. But the best pick in these late rounds, Quintez Cephas out of Wisconsin, wide receiver. Ran the slowest 40 at the combine. That's why he fell so low. But this guy is a 50-50 in the air type guy. Uses his body really well. Had over 900 receiving yards at Wisconsin, which is really hard to do considering how much they run the ball and their questionable quarterback play. So if you watch the tape on Quintez Cephas, the guy is a stud, and I think he can be a solid piece to use out of the slot in Detroit going forward. So that was my favorite late-round pick.
And you guys already have a late round, or not late round, but a undervalued at the time of the draft selection at wide receiver in Kenny Golladay. So these are two guys that might be able to build some rapport with a little bit of the same feelings after draft weekend.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Kenny Golladay was a third-round pick. That's the only difference. This guy a fifth-round pick, so a little different. But definitely some similarities there.
Right on. Remy, what about the last round for you guys? Did you like anyone
definitely.
in particular?
Actually, a couple names stand out for me. Troy Dye, linebacker out of Oregon, finished his career with 391 tackles and 13 sacks. This is huge when it comes to the Vikings linebacking core because you got Anthony Barr, who should be more of an edge rusher. You got Eric Kendricks, who is one of the best linebackers. And then now Troy can come up and replace Ben Gideon, who hasn't been producing as much. And I think he's a nice athletic back who can do some damage. Also, your dude from Michigan State, Kenny Willekes, nasty.
Yeah,
nasty.
good pick.
He's going to make a very strong impact on that D. And don't be surprised if he gets some starting reps towards the middle of the season. And then last but certainly not least, when you go for a quarterback when you don't need one and you need him for the future, you go in the 7th round and you go get Nate Stanley. He is a very low risk, high reward. This dude's got a cannon. He's smart. He just is not accurate. He needs to work on his accuracy, but he's a big mobile guy, and he sits under Kirk. We could be seeing Stanley in 2022 or 23.
And in total Remy fashion, you can't say Stanley without digging the Packers one more time. Big Z, you wanted to say something.
No, I just, the Nate Stanley thing just really got me, especially Remy, because I think you got him in your mock just for the hell of it because you're an Iowa guy. But when the Vikings got 15 picks, they might as well please those Northern Iowa, the people that live in Northern Iowa right there that are all Vikings fans. When you got 15, you might as well just go with Nate Stanley to please the. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I just thought it was funny. That's all.
And now Kinger, what about you? Any late round guys?
Yeah, I mean my favorite pick of the late round, probably not the one I'm going to focus on. The one that I do think is going to be the most successful is John Runyon Jr. out of Michigan. Played left tackle at Michigan. Started a bunch of games up there. They're saying he's going to probably move to the interior, be a guard in the NFL, but a lot of hype around him. A lot of O-line experts project him to be a very solid interior lineman eventually. The pick that intrigues me the most in a position that we need is we took in the 5th round. We took Kamal Martin, who's a linebacker out of Minnesota. Some questions around his tackling, and he had a knee injury that he suffered last year that set him back a little bit. But heading into the Senior Bowl last year, a lot of people had him as a top 3 or 4 linebacker, physical specimen that they're saying it would translate well to the NFL. Again, some of the issues with the missed tackles, we'll see, but do have an official quote from an insider on the Minnesota football team who says this man is a freak of nature when healthy. So, we've been kind of looking for somebody to fill that kind of linebacker hybrid safety role that Josh Jones, we drafted a few years ago for and didn't really turn out. We have Will Redmond kind of in that role right now. So there's some hope that this guy will turn out to be, somebody that we can plug in that position, which is very important in Mike Pettine's defense.
Right on. And I guess that leaves me here. My day 3 was pretty interesting. Just because, like I said, we only had those 2 picks in the second round, and then here comes our last couple picks, and that was day 3. The storyline after day 2 was, how is Fromm not picked? And then all of a sudden, like 8 picks before the Bears are supposed to pick, all of a sudden it says Bears trade up, and I'm thinking, oh shit. and that's no knock against Fromm. It's just like, I was just sitting there the whole time thinking, oh shit, here we go again. We're going to grab Fromm here or whatever. But we didn't. We went with an edge rusher from Tulsa. He looks like he's pretty good. I honestly had never heard of him. He's a big physical guy. I think he was really grabbed for his potential, but I kind of see him as a Roy Robertson Harris replacement, just because I think that guy might get an offer, and I don't know if we can divvy up too much more money at the end of the season. But I kind of saw that as why they made that lateral move. But the guy I want to talk about here for the Bears is Darnell Mooney. When it comes to round 5, pace is actually phenomenal. He's batting .750. In the 5th round, he's gotten guys like Jordan Howard. And my computer kind of went dark here, so I don't have the other guys up right now. But he actually does really good. Bilal Nichols was one of them. Another guy was Jordan Morgan, who never played a snap, and he was our guy that was pretty bad. But, I think pace is pretty good in these late rounds. I think he finds those diamonds in the rough, and I'm hoping that this guy, Darnell Mooney, will be that guy for us in 2020. At pick 173, that's not too far off of Tyreek Hill's selection at 165. And I'm not here trying to say we're going to get a Tyreek Hill or anything like that, because that's absurd. There's only one Tyreek Hill out there. But, this is definitely the move that Nagy and Pace are looking for. All the teams in the NFL, they're looking to get that one guy who can take the top off of defense. And this guy's got legit speed. He ran a 4.38 40, which ranked 3rd among all wide receivers. And it's almost like he plays faster than that. His player comp is like a Travis Benjamin. His route running is awesome. He gets in and out of cuts and creates plenty of separation. His career stats are pretty good. He had 154 receptions, 2,600 yards, and 19 touchdowns. He came out of Tulane, and for all Bears fans out there, we have some pretty good luck with guys from Tulane. Matt Forte was our last guy. So he's definitely my favorite. But I will say he definitely comes with considerable knock here. One scout was on the record saying that Darnell Mooney has the body size of a kicker with poor muscle definition. So you never want to hear that. I feel like somebody pissing that guy's Cheerios. There's no reason to call a prospect, a kicker without muscle. I just think that's downright disrespectful. But he is 5'11", 174 pounds, so he definitely does need to beef up the frame a little bit. But we're talking 5th round here, and Pace usually does a pretty good job. And I'm hoping he hits a home run with this guy. But, I don't know if we really want to talk about, bad picks in day 3. or does anybody stand out to anybody that that was a head scratcher at all?
I'm sure somebody has something to say about Green Bay's picks.
No, I actually like the Runyon one, Kinger, so I'll give you some props for that one.
Thanks, Big Z.
I just wish the Lions picked Donovan Peoples-Jones. He was sitting there all the way to the beginning of the 6th round. I'm surprised he lasted that long, considering how athletic that guy is. That's the only one I had an issue with. More the not picking than the pick.
I totally thought that too. I mean, this whole time watching the draft, day 3, and I'm like, when is the most athletic wide receiver coming off the board? I mean, Big Z telling me he's the most athletic wide receiver in the game, and he's still here. But I don't want to chirp you too much. I'm happy you had a good draft. Let's just, one last thing we'll say for everybody. I'll go around here and I'll lead it off so you guys know what I mean. But out of all 4 of us, we'll rank each of our drafts from best to worst. And I'll say I think the best was the Vikings. I think the second best was Detroit Lions. I think the third was my Bears, and fourth were the Packers. Just from a win now standpoint, nothing against what they might do in the future. But let's go with Big Z. What are your how would you rank these guys?
Man, I thought the Lions had the best draft. That's a little biased. I mean, if you're the Vikings, you have 15 picks. It's hard not to give them the best ranking. When you have that many selections, you would really have to screw up. But I thought the Lions got the best top-end value in the draft out of anybody. But I personally gave the Lions a B+, so I can't give them the top grade. So I would definitely put the Packers last. Sorry, Kinger. Obviously, I was not a fan of their draft. The Bears did, I guess, what they could, although I think they could have got Kmet at a lesser value than what they did. So, yeah, same order.
All right, and I think you bring up a good point with the 15 picks. It's a little bit of an unfair advantage. I think my favorite move was them trading back in the first and still getting their guy in Gladney. But Remy, I'll let you go.
Yeah, no. Honestly, I really like the Lions draft just because I was very high on Swift, and you guys got the next corner for your 10, 12 years, maybe 15. But aside from that, I mean, you guys killed it, but I got to say Minnesota's close number 2, and I just wanted to throw my bias out the window, but the only thing with me even considering that number 2 is these guys are coming in and having to play crucial positions at a very young, raw rookie age. So don't be surprised if Gladney gets burned or Jefferson drops this throw. I hope to God that they just come in and they're sensational, but these guys are young and they need to learn. I'll follow that up with Chicago had a good draft right after at 3, and then, I don't love the Packers draft at all, so, worst draft.
And you bring up a good point there. When rookies are thrust into a position, they're prone to some mistakes. I think that's one benefit Zach has, Kinger has above all of us here, as his guys are probably not going to see the field too soon. But Kinger, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, again, Barney, you're really spitting some real logic tonight, about the Packers and seeing the long-term picture, and I love it. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that the general consensus here is that Green Bay had the lowest draft, and that's fine. And quite honestly, I mean, I think it is kind of scary because ultimately I think Minnesota not only had the best draft in the division, but I do believe that they had potentially one of the best drafts in all of football, right? I mean, their roster top to bottom right now is already, I think, one of the best. And then to add a guy like Justin Jefferson, they get 3 press corners, physical corners that they're saying is going to fit into that system well up in Minnesota. boatload of picks. They did well. There's a handful of guys drafted that could make immediate impact on an already good Minnesota team. I'm not going to knock Detroit's. I'm not going to knock Detroit's draft either. I think they did pretty well. Again, I said I have maybe some doubts around DeAndre Swift, but Jeff Okudah is going to be money. I think Julian Okwara is going to be a solid pick. Building Jonah Jackson from Ohio State as well. I think the Lions did do well to improve the roster. The Lions have a lot of holes. I still think they're a ways away, but they did well, and I give props to both those teams. And again, I'm going to put the Bears and the Packers really kind of in just similar draft positions, right? I mean, I think it's too soon to really determine how those are going to go. And I don't think the Bears made any splashes. I like their first 2 picks. I think they're eventually going to be impactful. But, Green Bay, again, is looking long-term, and we'll see if some of these picks turn out in a couple years. They built the O-line, and, they added some depth, and that's what I think they were looking to do.
You know what? I thought walking into the draft here with only 2 guys in the top 160 picks, we would probably definitely be in the last spot here. But you make a good point. We don't know who's gonna turn out to be what. I'm just happy we were able to get 2 guys that I think should have been first round draft picks. But Remy, you wanted to say one thing?
From what I understand, do you believe that the Lions have more holes on their team than the Minnesota Vikings?
Oh, that's
okay, because I looked over at Big Z's face when you said they had some holes, and he looked like he was about ready to jump through the screen.
I mean, the Lions didn't address their interior defensive line and a line. I wanted one more linebacker that we didn't get, so I wouldn't say we addressed all our holes. But on offense, I really like what we have going forward here, at least for 2020. I can't speak for 2021 because 3 of our receivers are going to be free agents. But for 2020, the offense is looking solid.
Yeah, I think all 4 of our teams probably have a couple moves that we'd all like to see make in the rest of this free agency period before the season starts. Actually, one last thing. I saw there was a report that came out, and just in case the season doesn't start when it's supposed to, there's been rumblings that they would accept a push, a season pushed out maybe a month or 2 with less bye week, like 0 bye weeks, or and the Super Bowl would be in late February, like last weekend of February. Obviously, I think we're all fans of football, so just by, a long shot, if there's no chance that there's any games going on, I mean, I'd fold and accept this new format here.
Sure, yeah. Give us a Super Bowl, give us a couple weeks off, and get us ready for St. Patrick's Day. Look at that. That'd be a really healthy March right there.
All right. Well, we're just over the hour mark. I think it's a good time to wrap up here.
Wait,
special
Barney,
announcement.
Hold on. One more thing we got to talk about. Bryson Hopkins went pick 136. You guys had the over-under 85.5, right? I can't remember which.
Damn it, Big Z. I thought I was going to skate out of this.
Kinger, man, not even close, dude.
And you know what? I felt, I'm looking at the screen right now, and I don't know if it's a filter over there, but Kinger's face is black and blue. I don't know. He's been taking a beating all day. I wasn't about to bring that up, but you know what? You did. You brought it up, and I think that's the first bet of the podcast that we won here. So I definitely am pumped to have won that. But I actually, between just me and Kinger, I actually just sent him a text and said, I'll give you, because it was only for a beer or 2. And then I said, you know what, we'll extend this to a case and I'll give it to 112. And we made that. And I thought I was being a little generous because the very last pick of the second round or day 2 was one of the tight ends. I think it was the guy out of UCLA, and I thought I was like, oh shit, that's gonna start a run here, and I didn't think that was a smart choice by me, but it ended up paying off.
Yeah, it definitely paid off. I was drinking the Kool-Aid. My opinions don't change though. Bryson Hopkins is still going to be elite, and he still is a top 3 tight end in this draft class. You mark my word. But you enjoy that case of Miller Lite, Barney. I hope it goes down nice and smooth.
It will, but as I tried before, I think it's a good spot to wrap up. There is a special announcement here. We are finally on Apple Podcasts, so whichever way you like to listen to your podcast, you have the option. Please, rate, follow, subscribe. We really appreciate it. And, leave us a comment. What do you guys think about what we're doing here and what kind of topics you'd like to see coming up in these next couple episodes? But for now, this is Barney from Chicago signing off. Everyone, have a good night.